finally we're at the main event for UFC 300. That's Alex Pereira versus Jamahal Hill. Alex, man, he's KO'd a lot of big names. He has not been in the UFC very long, but he has taken on some of the top competition. He wants to stand the whole time. I think he lacks pretty heavily in grappling. Hill is great at controlling range, decent grappling, very tough. I mean, having his arm snapped and not tapping and like staying in the fight, eating punches was just unreal. And by our homeboy too, that snapped him. That was just so. That Paul Craig just like pisses me off for some reason.
The Hasidic homeboy, Paul Craig,
Yes, I can't say Paul.
fucking
He's
Bear Jew.
It's like be good or don't. Like stop this. Uh,
MMA's most interesting man.
he is, man. He really is. Oh, I've gone back and forth on this one. Something fierce, dude. I think what it came down to is Hill tore his Achilles, and I know that if you watch UFC content, you know all this already. But I mean, really, for the return to sport is 12 months. You need to do a year. I believe he's like somewhere around 9 months, and that's for sports. Like this is combat sports, man. This is even more intense, and with Alex being a kickboxer, I think he's really going to abuse that leg. Like I think he's going to kick it a lot, and I don't know how well Hill's going to be able to stay standing and keep fighting. I really Hill like it seems like Hill wants it so bad. I can't take him though. I think I have to go Alex. Wasn't super like I'm not a huge Alex fan either. I like him. I just don't know. Hill with this fight coming off such a short rehab. And then also with these guys, like you can't take some of the things that like increase healing time. Like some of these drugs are banned and you can't use them. I think pretty much everything except for stem cells. So when you can't even do everything that's available for treatment, I don't know. I really worry about Hill. What do you think, Bobby?
It's tough, but as the fight was first announced, I've gotten more of like a 50-50 perspective on the fight. But you make a good point with the whole substances thing. And I don't like to experiment and speculate on that too much because you never know unless somebody has a positive test type thing. But I'll offer you this. God, I love fucking using that. Every time I say it, I think of Chael Sonnen just sitting back in a fucking recliner with
Yeah.
his hands interlocked. And I'll offer you this. You can't pop for what they don't test you for. It's just like the NFL and Pat McAfee tries to say nobody takes HGH. It's an honor code thing. And then literally in the same sentence saying, but they never test for it.
Right.
You'd be fucking stupid to not take something they don't test for then because you can't get caught for something they're not looking for. That's like fucking failing a test for something you're not getting quizzed over. If you fail your Spanish test, you failed your Spanish test, not your French. You know what I mean? So people don't usually look for shit that can accelerate healing, like your HGH and whatnot. That's like a pretty prime candidate. The human growth hormone would definitely strengthen your tendons and whatnot. But I'll offer you this instead of just performance enhancing drugs. What do you know about Jamal Hill's drug use in general? And I'm not talking about his recreational marijuana use that resulted in one of his fights that was originally a win for him being overturned due to his positive test for marijuana. Yeah, he had this No, it wasn't his contender series. It was his second official UFC fight, TKO win, overturned for marijuana. What I'm getting at with this is, what about ayahuasca? What's the connection there? Ayahuasca, Achilles, they both start with A. What do those drugs that start with A, like ayahuasca, do? Your eye. What eye? Your third eye. Where's your third eye? In your forehead. It hurts to punch somebody in the forehead in a striking fight because it's one of the hardest areas of the human skull and it will do more damage to you than it will do to the opponent. What else starts with A? Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles. And what if I offer you this conspiracy time, X Files. What if Jamal Hill's been hanging out with Aaron Rodgers in the closets of Arizona doing hardcore drugs and sniffing cat piss and just getting fucking blitzed out of his mind, fighting inner demons and reconstructing his tendon out of spaghetti noodles and trash bags? We have the technology. We can rebuild him. Bionic. Bigger, stronger, faster, enhanced. And I'm not talking about male vitality. Shout out to Alex Jones. I'm talking about Achilles injuries. Where's all this schizophrenic rambling going? I don't disagree with you. I actually think you're pretty much spot on. I know I probably sucked a lot of you into thinking I was going to pick Jamahal Hill. Fuck no. And here's why besides the Achilles. Yes, he's coming back way too fucking quick.
Yeah.
A reason why I really think he's coming back way too quick is instead of doing the right thing, like taking performance enhancing drugs or fucking trying to hang out with Aaron Rodgers and at least get so stoned, not even stoned because that involves the use of pot, literally ripping the fabric of reality apart with a stupid fucking drug in the jungles of some shithole third world country just to hallucinate the great fucking Tenochtitlan serpent of the Aztecs eating your heart out, leading to some revelation about whether you should play fucking football or keep fighting in MMA. Things that would actually at least be productive or at least make him feel safe mentally, as opposed to doing fucking nothing, even though it's still an exercise in futility no matter what, because drug use like that's fucking stupid. He's not really taking his career serious, I feel like. And maybe I'm being a bit too harsh on him, but every time I see the guy and like when he's not getting ready for a fight, he's got circa 2010 Gucci Mane lean belly. Like he just looks like he's, and once again, I can't speculate, I can't slander, I can't libel, I can't do that shit. But it's like, is this guy mixing up some codeine and shit like Gucci? Like he's just got like a fucking lean belly going on, and he just kind of seems a bit lackadaisical and shit. Don't get me wrong, I like him, I really genuinely do, and I do think he's exciting, and he is the guy who should be fighting this fight for the belt against the contender in Alex Pereira. And I take nothing away from them except if I'm putting my money and I'm trying to tell you to put your money on something, we take this serious. We have to look at everything from a fucking microscope, and we have to be dedicated to you and to the content to put out accurate shit that's going to be beneficial for everybody. So we have to analyze things like this. And I just get the impression, my gut feeling is this is a guy that he needs to take it a bit more serious, and if he did, could be a real serious threat. But against Pereira, I just think it's going to be a primarily standing on the feet striking battle. And if it's not, surprisingly, you know who I would actually give the edge to? Alex Pereira, because in his fight after the Jiri one, he actually put on a boring wrestle fuck against Jan Blachowicz, which is terrible to watch as a spectator, but really actually indicative of a fucking evolution in his career, which is great for him as the fighter. It's great to see him go out there and, yeah, use his striking, but he primarily won the fight against Jan by just kind of being a boring wall install lay and pray fucking fighter. So if it goes to a decision, that increases his chances. Once again, I can't be biased. I fucking hate watching it, but I can't hate the man for doing what's going to get him the win.
Yeah.
You know, I can't hate him for doing the game plan. And so I think it's going to be striking. If it does go decision, I think Pereira can pull it off, and I think he'll use the tutelage of Glover Teixeira, pretty good grappler in his own right, good BJJ guy, to control the pace, tie him up. And I wouldn't go so crazy as to get a fucking sub because he hasn't had a sub in the UFC yet. I don't even know if in his very young MMA career he's even had a sub point blank period. But I mean, he definitely is at least position over submission guy, and he can at least tie him up and, you know, hold on and all that good shit. So I don't want to get too ridiculous with it. But yeah, I like Pereira with this. And yeah, he hasn't even had his only sub in his entire MMA career, which, like I said, he's only had 11 fights. This would be his 12th MMA fight, point blank period, not even just the UFC. He lost by sub in his debut. That's the only sub on his record. The rest of it's KO, TKO, or a decision. So that's what I'm going to go with for Pereira. Even though it sucks on the money line at minus 135 for him, I like him by KO, TKO at plus 120. Did we say what KO, TKO plus decision for Pereira would be if you combined it?
Let's see. KO plus decision. KO plus decision for Pereira, minus 125.
No. I'll just go with flat KO, TKO. Sub's tantalizing at plus 2,000, but once again, I wouldn't expect his first career sub in favor of him to come off this fight, even though the Bear Jew managed to get it done. That was a freak anomaly. The king of freak anomalies, of course, pulls off the freak anomaly.
Yes.
So, yeah, I just think Pereira is the way better striker. If he wants to or feels threatened, it's not going to be pretty, but he can grind out the decision. I don't think he'd look for the sub. He'd play it safe. Hill's not going to get a sub. I've never even seen Hill off his back. Maybe he has. I don't know. It's not ringing a bell. Yeah, I just like Pereira KO, TKO off that.
I like it, man. Looking at the money, 31% of bets on Hill, 44% of the money. So we got sub-sharp money coming in on Hill. I think best case, that's tough. So it's about 56%. You're paying it out at about minus 135.
This is one I don't feel bad about not being on Vegas for. This one I feel like Vegas is asleep at the wheel, and I actually hope it continues to get more in favor of Hill because that's going to make it the odds way better for us.
Yeah.
So this is like the only fight where I feel good about not being on the Vegas side.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just don't see it, man. I just don't see it. Hill's going to be way too confident. He's going to want to strike with Pereira to prove something, and that's where he's going to get fucked up, I feel like. Once again, no disrespect to him. I like both guys quite a bit. I'm not a Pereira glazer like I see all over social media with all this wild shit, like making him the most interesting man in the world. And, you know, oh my God, he fucking saved a bus of orphans from a fucking 60-foot cliff. He's a guy like anybody else. He is a good fighter, but he's not a world beater. He's not fucking earth shattering. He's not a GOAT. Not yet. He hasn't had enough fights and all that shit. But I just think him versus Hill, one man enters, one man leaves. Let's not fucking kid ourselves. They're both going to leave. Nobody's died in the UFC yet, thank God. And we don't want to see that, hopefully. Hopefully that never fucking happens. No matter what the dumbasses out there say, both of them are going to leave, thankfully. But I think the better fighter is and will be Pereira, especially coming off an Achilles. Huge injury. Once again, story of a lot of fights on this card, story of Chris Weidman, the mental block alone. It's different thinking you have it in training. It's different thinking you're back in sparring. It's different thinking you're back doing road work. But when you're in the octagon and the time comes to fight, that's the ultimate test of, are you really back? Are you really healthy? Are you really prepared? Are you truly ready?
You better start listening to the Better in Green podcast. You will not regret it. Trust me. And hey, I'm Dean Blandino.
Welcome to Better in Green, eh? To Better in Green, eh? To Better in Green, eh? Listen in and cash out. That's what it's all about. Come on, let's make cash now. We always on spot and we cover old spot from the bottom to the top, eh? Shout out to Ethan, shout out to Wyatt, shout out to Ben. Welcome to our podcast, Better in Green.